Hello there, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. Star Wars is a franchise that is known for bringing things back from the dead. Whether it's Maul after getting cut in half by Kenobi, or Palpatine after getting thrown down a reactor shaft. Generally speaking, in Star Wars, when you fall down a large kind of maintenance shaft, it's really not a death sentence in this franchise. As a matter of fact, it's almost a rebirth for most characters. The start of a new chapter in one's life, or a pivotal milestone that significantly changes their outlook in life. But there are some things in Star Wars you're not supposed to come back from, like a direct strike from a turbo laser fired from an Imperial cruiser in low orbit. That's how Din Djarin's trusty rust bucket, the Razor Crest, met its final end. On the world of Tython, when it was parked on a peaceful little clearing, Grand Moff Gideon blasted it into smithereens. But now, somehow, the Razor Crest has returned. A phrase that has been memed to death, highlighting the general absurdity of how things that people love in Star Wars just never seem to die. But instead of having like a Dathomiri witch, piece the Razor Crest back together from cosmic dust, like, if it were a Lego movie. What we're seeing here in the trailers is a completely different starship. It's the same model as the original Razor Crest, a Corellian Engineering Corporation ST-70 assault ship. And according to Jon Favreau, this ship was seized by the New Republic from an Imperial warlord who had just a collection of a lot of different cool things. And so this isn't actually the original Razor Crest. It's a completely different ship, but that's not really that important. It's more about what this ship symbolizes and represents for Mando Dad and Gogurt. That's what I want to focus on today. And I can already see that scene where Gogurt and Din Djarin are reunited with the Razor Crest in the movie, or this is what I expect the scene to be like. The two walk into the pilot's barracks at Al Duffy Base. Sigourney Weaver, aka Colonel Ward, with the New Republic Defense Fleet, is sitting behind her desk. She gives them the mission to hunt down Imperial warlords, and lo and behold, before she sends them out, she brings Din Djarin and Gogurt to a dusty corner of one of the hangars, and under a tarp lies the ST-70, the new, old Razor Crest. That, or on one of Din Djarin's first missions, he takes out an Imperial warlord who has the same expensive taste in starships and finds the ST-70 in his private collection. This transfer from the N1 starfighter to the Razor Crest, or back to the Razor Crest, needs to happen for a variety of different reasons. First, that existing ship, the heavily modified N1 starfighter with the cryogenic density combustion booster and the turbonic Venturi power simulator and the modified Baby Gogurt astromech socket, it's a beautiful piece of art, but it's just way too small for the adventures that Mando Dad is about to go on. They need room for people they're going to capture. The various Imperial criminals they're sent to hunt down. They clearly are going to have friends come along with them as well, like Zeb Orrelios, who appeared briefly in the last season of The Mandalorian. He's basically one of the last of his people, the Lasat. He fought bravely with the Lothal rebel cell known as the Spectres against Imperial forces led by Tarkin and Thrawn. I think in a lot of ways, Zeb is the one who's going to connect kind of the Rebels, Dave Filoni verse to the Mandalorian verse when everything ultimately meets as they try to reboot Heir to the Empire. I mean, just for practical storytelling purposes, Din Djarin has to ditch the old 911 and bring the Econoline van out of the garage because that's the tool necessary for this job. And according to Favreau, just like his N1, this new ST-70, it's going to be heavily modified before they even get it, which is kind of deeply tied to the lineage of George Lucas. Although he was always more interested in the sociology and psychology of his characters and the different cultures he created in Star Wars, George Lucas's first love was working on cars and racing them. This is why the Rebels mostly run heavily modified starfighters with aftermarket parts and fairings removed. This is why all the cool ships from the Y-Wing to the Millennium Falcon are essentially piece together hot rods. And the bad guys have extremely clean, factory standard mass-produced starships. Anyway, the ST-70 assault ship comes from Corellian Engineering Corporation, and it's the same company that is known for creating the YT-1300 freighter that was modified into the Millennium Falcon. They also designed and produced the VCX-100 light freighter, which was turned into the Ghost. Basically, CEC completely dominated the independent freighter captain market. They produced these, pretty robust and durable ships with good space frames, very powerful engines, and good generators, and they left everything else up to the captain. There's a huge third-party aftermarket support for these kind of vessels. Corellian starships were basically empty canvases. Aesthetically, they might look like frying bricks, but really, that boxiness just makes modifying things inside that much easier. Now, from a cultural and character point of view, the ST-70 is a perfect fit for Din Djarin. As a bounty hunter, he appreciates the space and modularity of the design. You have those custom lockers inside for his weapons. You have the area for the carbon freezing blocks, which significantly simplifies prisoner storage for them. Such technology actually requires a lot of energy, and what's really cool about CEC vessels is they generally are shipped, again, with very powerful generators that produce a lot more electricity than you need with the standard design. This allows you to, add in carbon freezing or maybe military-grade shields, weapons, stuff like that. Mandalorians in general are highly focused on the art of warfare, and it might be a bit irrational how they constantly seek to prove themselves in combat, but at least when it comes to fighting, they are usually completely prepared, almost over-prepared. This is why for Mandalorians, armor is so important and a part of their heritage and culture. They don't just go out to a store and buy, a suit of armor from Bactoid or Surzica. Every small little piece of their armor is usually handmade and highly customized to their fit and what they need from those pieces. Want many homing rockets in your wrist guard? The enemy will never see it coming. Want a deflector shield in your vambrace? That will allow you to survive ambushes. No two suits of Mandalorian armor are the same. They did actually try to do that. They tried to standardize Mandalorian armor during the Neo-Crusader period, but it just didn't stick. It didn't feel like very natural for this group of warriors. And so Mandalorian's armor says quite a lot about their personality, their fighting style, and lineage. And so Din Djarin's ship, in many ways, is an extension of that personality and expression. This is how George Lucas always wanted technology to be portrayed in Star Wars, right? He was always a person who modified his own cars, and he believed that there was just a lot more heart and soul in those vehicles than the ones that people just buy straight off the lot from the dealer. And so in Star Wars, a lightsaber or a blaster or a suit of armor isn't just a tool, it becomes a part of the wielder's identity. And these tools are not thrown away when they're lightly used or show the first sign of wear and tear. People cherish them, they fix them, they modify them, they cover up bangs and bruises with artwork. This is why the starships in Star Wars feel alive. They're almost characters in themselves. Now, when Din Djarin starts out in this series, he's wearing old Durasteel armor that is rugged and worn down with dents and scrapes all over. This kind of reflects how he doesn't have much purpose in his life other than to kill and make money from it. Their armor gets further degraded when he fights the Mudhorn, and just like its owner, the Razor Crest is in a similar state, especially early on in the series. It's just basically falling apart. A gigantic aqua monster tries to tear off its landing gear. A tribe of Jawas completely strip the ship for parts, forcing Din Djarin to build the ship back up piece by piece. Talk about having an intimate understanding of your ship. The Razor Crest then gets damaged in a dogfight when the hunter Riot Mar tries to collect Din Djarin's bounty. The ship then gets attacked by gigantic spiders after crashing into an ice cave. It also gets severe salt damage when it falls into the ocean on Trask. Despite all this damage, despite all this wear and tear, again, the Mandalorian just doesn't throw away the ship. He continues to repair it and rebuild it and hopefully improve it. And because the Razor Crest is so unorthodox, so pieced together, it has unique advantages that make it surprisingly robust and hard to fight. And, worst comes to worst, just like its owner, the Razor Crest is really built for punishment. Now, during the prison break arc with Din Djarin, it's very clear that other people do not view the Razor Crest in the same way that Din Djarin does. Like, only Din Djarin sees that inner beauty.
Razor Crest? I can't believe that thing can fly. It's like a Canto Bite slot machine.
This is actually the same vibe we get when Luke Skywalker first sees the Millennium Falcon for the first time on Tatooine.
What a piece of junk!
She'll make 0.5 past light speed. She may not look like much, but she's got it where it counts, kid.
Star Wars has always been about the underdog, right? Makeshift alliances, duct taped together starships, taking down technologically advanced and very resource-rich authoritarian regimes.
Despite recent modifications, the ship is still quite a mess. The power lines are leaking, the navigation is intermittent, and the hyperdrive is only operating at 67.3% efficiency.
On paper, the Razor Crest shouldn't be able to compete. By the Empire's own, statistics-obsessed point of view, the Razor Crest is a piece of junk. But it really shows us that when an owner cares about their ship, it really doesn't matter aesthetically how it looks. It's really just about all the love and labor put inside of the machine and how it functions, how it actually functions.
We have much better ships. Why are we using this one?
Because the Razor Crest is off the old Imperial and the New Republic grid.
And that's one of the secrets. Like Mando, the Razor Crest has no allegiance. It's not aligned to the Empire or the New Republic. Like Mando, it has its own kind of moral compass. And so when Din Djarin loses the Razor Crest, when he gets destroyed during their journey to find Grogu, his own people, the Jedi, it's actually a really big moment. It's more than just the death of transport for Mando Dad. It's the death of a period in his life. Because the starship was very much his home, a very sparsely decorated and functional home, but that is what you would expect from Din Djarin, who's essentially is a nomad. The destruction of the Razor Crest came at a very important time in Din Djarin's life. It's when he shifts from being a bachelor bounty hunter to becoming more of a father-like figure. The N1 Starfighter was perfect for just him and Grogu. There wasn't enough room for bounties because he was leaving that life behind. And judging by, his conversations with his former colleagues, it was a really rough and dangerous and crazy time period in his life, and I think he's glad that he's left it all behind. He's found purpose and meaning in his life now. Baby Go-Gurt has really changed his perspective on things. Credits no longer are the most important things in the world. And shortly after the Razor Crest is destroyed, Mando, Dad, and Grogu are gifted a homestead on Navarro where they can finally lay down some roots and find some stability, which is really good for little guys that are still growing up. But of course, Mando and Grogu have a responsibility to the galaxy because they are powerful. They have capabilities. They can use such capabilities to protect the innocent and the weak from tyranny. And so when the New Republic needs them, they must return to their old profession of hunting down bad guys. And this time, things are going to be different. Again, it's not going to be about the credits this time. It's not just going to be about survival. This time around, Din Djarin and Grogu are going to try to do good for the galaxy, help get rid of Imperial Remnant factions led by evil warlords. With Grogu officially rejecting the Jedi for now, Din Djarin is going to be a full-time dad and teacher who trains young Go-Gurt on the finer details of how to become a Mandalorian bounty hunter. In a previous video, we talked about how the Jedi's philosophy on training their students was completely backwards. Their members are taken at birth as blank slates and taught about the Force and their role in it. When in reality, what you actually want are people who have life experience already, people who have seen the world, who understand how people operate, who understand how they operate. You need individuals who have gained enough experience so that they can develop their own real values and beliefs that are backed by their own personal views rather than just what an organization pushes onto them. It should be only then, when a person finally understands who they are, that they should make the choice of joining an order like the Jedi, because this is a huge sacrifice. This is not a job that is for everyone. And it seems like the only filter that the Jedi actually created when it came to selecting who would join their order was whether they were Force sensitive, which was always a huge problem with the Jedi Order. The Jedi indoctrinating younglings into its organizations has always been, from an ethical standpoint, very concerning. It's probably the Jedi Order's original sin. And Baby Go-Gurt's story and experiences make him the perfect Jedi to change that way of doing things. This period of time in The Mandalorian and Grogu will be perfect for Din Djarin to teach his youngling how to interact and be out in the galaxy, like a Mandalorian. And so Din Djarin has kind of reached his full potential here, right? He's no longer just a bounty hunter, he's no longer just a dad, he's a bit of both. And he's going to play a huge role in Go-Gurt's life because he actually has a good head on his shoulders. Surprisingly, Din Djarin's own belief system, which is rooted in Mandalorian traditions, is exactly what someone like Go-Gurt needs in his life at this point, especially because he's rejected the Jedi way and traditions. Go-Gurt needs balance, a mix between Jedi and Mandalorian philosophy. The marriage of these two ancient beliefs will be truly powerful. The Mandalorians are too violent and focus on combat too much. The Jedi, on the other hand, are too idealistic and naive about how the world actually works. The pragmatic way of thinking of the Mandalorians will help the Jedi adapt to the real world. The last time there was this powerful merger of ideologies when you had a hybrid Mandalorian Jedi, it was actually Tar Vizsla. And he managed to unite the entire Mandalorian people beneath his rule. I think Go-Gurt will also be destined for the same type of greatness. And it's not just because he's a Force user, but it's because of the people that are involved in his life. Individuals like Din Djarin, who will spend the rest of his years trying to impart as much wisdom and practical knowledge to this little guy as possible. And so for now, the Razor Crest will be his mobile school, from where Go-Gurt will slowly absorb information and lessons about the larger galaxy. This is the foundation and the development of a character that I think is going to be extremely important in Star Wars' near future. I think it's even possible that Go-Gurt will, kind of find his way to get around the sequels and restart the Jedi in a later period of time. And so it all kind of starts here. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Remember to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. And as usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. I'll see you next time.